welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to show you how to update the firmware on the HA1G and the HA1UV radios by Retevis. The HA1UV is an amateur radio and the HA1G is a GMRS radio, and they are both expandable. You can see that in my other videos. First thing I want to show y'all before we get too deep into this is the website I'm creating. There's quite a bit on it already. Radio weather, CB, GMRS, ham, a little bit about all that stuff. But on the home page, I put updates of what I'm working on up at the top. And then about a third of the way down, if you have questions and I don't get back to you right away in the comments, check out Zello. Here's the password and the name of the group. You can scan this QR code and I might hear you right away with your question or be able to get back to you much faster. And then we also have Oddmaster over here on the right. I will say I don't check Oddmaster as much, so I would go with Zello if you're really getting frustrated and got a question. All right, and then you scroll a little bit farther down. This is on the home page, and I will post this link in the description on most platforms or in the comments. One, because you can find Zello and you can find this affiliate link right here for Retevis and other radio companies, but in reference to this video, Retevis, and get you a little discount on one of these radios if you're thinking about getting one, if you haven't already got one or you have one like it and want another one. All right, so now that I've shown you that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to jump over to the old Facebook. All right, on Facebook, we're going to look up Retevis, and it's the HA1UV HA1G Facebook group, not page, group. So you got to join. All right. Once you join, you'll find a post that looks like this that says update firmware and software. You're going to click on that and that will open up this page. Here it tells a little bit about what the update is. And I hear rumor that there may be Airband coming. They did release some firmware and it looks like they took it back down to tweak it. But I swear I saw these radios running AM, so we'll see. But anyways, if you have the GMRS version, you're going to click the top one. And if you have the amateur version, you're going to click the bottom one. They look exactly the same, the radios do, but different firmwares. All right, when you click on that, it's going to open this. I will also have a direct link to this page posted in the description on most platforms. If you happen to run across this on a platform where you cannot find that address, go to YouTube at KR92VA. That's Kilo Romeo 92 Victor Alpha. Sorry, I'm losing my voice, so I wanted to make sure I said that clear. And that stands for Night Reaper 92 Virginia. So that's my YouTube and a lot of my other socials. If you put @ and KR92VA, you can find me there. All right, enough self-promoting for this video. All right, we're going to click the programming software, tap that. We're going to click the firmware and tap that. Now, there's two firmwares here, a black one and a red one. The red one is obviously the new one, so we want that one. And then the good old USB driver. Some may need it, some may not, but click on it anyways. And then when you click on this new, it's going to open this up, which is your instructions for how to update the radio. So I'm giving you the visual. Here is your written instructions. All right. So from there, the next thing I really want to show you guys is how to connect this PD01 connector, which is different than the K-pin connector. This is the connector that's normally used on waterproof radios or water-resistant radios. So we're going to switch over to the other screen and show you how to do that. And then when we come back, we're going to show you after you've connected your COM port how to figure out which COM port is the one your radio's on so that you can update this firmware. All right, so let's switch over to the other screen. All right, y'all. So we've got our radio unit here, and we're going to show you how to connect your radio to your computer to the COM port. So I've pre-loosened this. If you've never undone your waterproof mic cover, you may need a screwdriver because the first time it's a little tough. All right. Oh, I'm losing it. When you slide that off, you can see that it has a little lip there. And then this is your PD01 connector. This doesn't use a K-pin. So if you don't have one of these, you may have to wait to update. All right. You want it to face up like this so that lip goes in. And that is important that that's in there. If your connection is not tight, your radio will not update. All right. And we're going to use a little finger elbow grease here to get it started. And then when it just starts to tighten a little bit, you're just going to give it about 1/3 of a turn, not too tight, just enough to hold it down flush. All right, so it should look like that. And then the other side, you're going to plug into your computer USB port. I have an external one here. All right, then you're going to hold down this first little one and your big green PTT, and you're going to turn this knob. It also tells you this in the instructions, and you either get a red or yellow light, but that does mean it's in firmware update mode. If you get a green light and your screen's on, you're not in firmware mode. All right, so we're in firmware mode. We can now fire up our PC again and go back to preparing to update. We'll see you back on the other screen. All right, so now that we have our radio connected into the USB port of our computer and the PD01 connected and screwed into our radio, and we've held down the PTT and first button under the PTT and turn the on knob on at the same time. And it says you'll get a red light, but you actually get kind of a yellowish light at first until it's connected to the programming software. The next thing you want to do, just to be thorough, I know some people already know this, but some people might not. You want to go down to your search bar and type in Device Manager. And then you're going to click on this, and that is going to open up this right here. If you do this with radios a lot, you're already familiar with this, and you're going to look for the one that says Ports, COM, and LPT. All right, so we got to click the little arrow over here on the left, and it's going to drop these down, and we're going to look for something that says 340. Now, we can see these are both Bluetooth, so we know those are not ours, and this one says 340, so we're COM5. So we need to remember that. Then we're going to go back to those files we downloaded earlier. So we're going to go into our File Explorer and Downloads. And then the first one we're going to click on is Retevis CPS and hit Open. That is, or double click on it. That is our computer programming software. All right, so then you get this screen. You're like, don't run. What am I supposed to do? You're going to hit More Info, which is going to open the run anyway. I promise you this software is not harmful. Matter of fact, while we're talking about it, Retevis also mentions it right here on their website. When downloading firmware software, it may show a virus. This is down to digital signing issues and is 100% safe. You can ignore it directly and put it in your computer whitelist. All right, so now that I've hit run, it's opened over here. So let's pull that up so you can see that. All right, so here's our computer. Whoa, our computer programming software. We only need one of you bad boys. All right, then we want to go back into our downloads. Now, pro tip. Before you do any of this, create you a folder for your Retevis radios. So for me, I have one that's labeled Retevis, and then I open it up and I've created folders for each model. And then within that, I break it down into other things like firmware, beta testing, different computer programming software. So first thing I want to do is right click on the 12.005, which is our firmware file. And we want to hit extract all. Okay, so we can hit it up here or right here. So I'm going to hit that. And like I said, I created folders. So I'm going to hit the browse. And then as you can see, I've already been in it, but I'll go back so you can see. I've created my folders. I've got the Retevis HA1G, and then I created a new beta for HA1G just to put this firmware and this programmer in. And then we're going to hit extract, and that's going to extract our file. All right. And then when we click on it here, this app bin that says bin file, that's your firmware right there. Now, don't think you extract the driver, but yeah, you don't have to extract the driver. All right, so now here comes the fun part. You've got your radio and programming mode. You're going to go to Operation, Firmware. All right, so Operation tab, Firmware. It's going to bring up port and model. We know our COM port is 5 because we saw that earlier, and we are working with the HA1G radio. All right, then it's going to bring up this. Please turn off device, then press and hold PTT, PF1 buttons at the same time and turn the radio back on. Feel like I've already told y'all this 3 times so y'all know what we're doing. And we got a yellow light, not a red light like the instructions say. Now, we're going to click on this bin file. Let me do that one more time. That way everybody sees slow. Select file on bin path file. And then I have it under desktop, all radios. Now you get to see all the folders I created anyways. HT radio folders, Retevis. You won't have to do all this unless you organize yours like this. You'll just be able to go to where your firmware source is. All right, and then click on that. It's loaded. And then download application to flash. All right. So what we're doing now is we are putting the firmware onto the flasher. All right, so we're going to let this go ahead and go through. Don't forget to comment where you are watching this from. I always try to throw that in there because I love to see if I'm getting out farther to people, if I am helping people learn. And tell me what part of radio is your favorite. Are you a GMRS guy because you got a lot of repeaters in your area? Are you that CB guy that throws those watts out there to see how far your little radio can make it? Or are you that ham guy out there storming the airwaves, taking over? Let me know in the comments. All right, so we're at 75%. All right, guys, our update just completed. So we are going to, I did power the radio back down. We are going to get this screw off here, put our cover back on because you don't want to lose that. That does affect the waterproofing of your radio. So we will screw that back on. All right, and let's power on our radio. All right. Look at that, y'all. AM is there. That is so dope. Let's see if we got anything else real quick with that update. All right, we got a one-key frequency pair. It looks like it scans for that extra information on the radio. So already we're seeing some cool updates. I'm sure we'll have more coming with this radio. And just to check, let's go to radio information. And there you go. We got that 12.005. All right, y'all stay tuned for more with this radio. And we have more coming from Radtel and from TID Radio. That H3 Plus is doing some cool stuff, just like this HA1G. They've changed the color menu where it can do multiple colors. They've put another classic display on it, and you can receive text messages. So stay tuned for that as well. Guys, don't forget to follow, like, share. I need y'all's support. I'm trying to be a cool dude out there. All right, y'all. This is the Night Reaper. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit me up if you got a question. 7 threes, and we are out.